As Washington debates whether to deploy a bunker buster in Iran, it's crucial to consider, are we on the brink of repeating the costly mistakes of past endless wars? Is military action truly in America's best interest, or should we allow the Iranian people to determine their own future?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Yet the same figures who have mishandled foreign policy for years now suggest that another war is the solution. Perhaps the true answer lies in allowing Iranians to reclaim their nation on their own terms without American intervention. Fox News reports that the exiled Crown Prince of Iran has sent a message to President Trump amid considerations of a bunker buster strike. Should we not heed the lessons from Iraq and Afghanistan? Let's see what we've got here.
We know that President Trump is currently considering the use of a bunker buster bomb on the Fordo facility in Iran, which is believed to have a nuclear facility buried deep into the ground. What would you say to President Trump as he considers that option?
One of the concerns that often is associated with hitting nuclear facilities is the risk of radiation. That could be something very important to contemplate. I hope it doesn't get to this point.
The prospect of using a bunker buster bomb on Iran's Fordo facility brings to light significant issues that go beyond the technical aspects of such a strike. It would be counterproductive for the United States to hand the regime a propaganda victory or to rally the Iranian people against an external threat. The current administration's readiness to display strength and maintain a full range of options provides use to bring Iran to the negotiating table. This use should not be wasted on impulsive military actions that could entangle America in another protracted Middle East conflict. Experts suggest that while an attack might damage the facility, it wouldn't completely eliminate Iran's nuclear program. Such fallout could unite the Iranian population behind their government, despite the regime facing significant internal dissent, including mass protests and defections within its military and intelligence sectors. The regime is already weakening from within, and the most favorable outcome for both American security and regional stability is a peaceful democratic transition in Iran, driven by the Iranians themselves, not foreign intervention. The focus should instead be on empowering the Iranian people in their quest for freedom. This is not only a humanitarian issue, but also a strategic one. Diplomatic pressure, intelligence sharing, and targeted sanctions are more effective and sustainable strategies than military intervention, which often serves the interests of the global elite and the military-industrial complex, rather than the American populace. America's interests are not served by acting as the world's police or by engaging in every international conflict. The focus should remain on American security, prosperity, and supporting those fighting for freedom, without initiating another conflict that benefits only the Washington establishment and defense contractors. There is no certainty that a strike would effectively dismantle Iran's nuclear enrichment capabilities. History from the past 2 decades shows that external regime change is ineffective, and military actions often have unpredictable, uncontrollable consequences. Reflecting on past interactions with Iran, the previous administration's approach, which included appeasing Tehran and overlooking their nuclear ambitions, only served to embolden the regime and compromise global security.
I think there's enough damage done to the regime without having to take it to the next level. But if the objective finally is for this regime to completely collapse, the better element, much stronger than a bomb and much more effective, are the people themselves.
Instead of repeating past mistakes like regime change operations, nation building, or military adventurism, Washington should focus on supporting the Iranian people through targeted sanctions, intelligence sharing, and moral support. This is a critical moment for American foreign policy. If the goal is to see the regime in Tehran collapse, history and common sense suggest that real power rests with the Iranian people, not foreign bombs or outside intervention. Let the better elements within Iran continue their work. For too long, the foreign policy establishment, particularly under the previous Democratic administration, pursued a policy of appeasement, sending pallets of cash to Tehran and ignoring the regime's nuclear ambitions. While Democrats and their media allies advocate for reckless engagement or naive diplomacy, Republicans rightly argue that America's involvement should be prudent and aligned with our national interests. The path to a freer, more stable Middle East lies with those on the ground, not through airstrikes that could unite the population behind a despised regime. The courage of the Iranian people who continue to march in the streets despite threats of violence represents a more formidable force than any weapon in our arsenal. The regime's desperation is evident as it cuts off communication, suppresses dissent, and faces increasing defections within its ranks. The partisan divide on this issue is stark. The last thing we need is another unwinnable conflict in the Middle East, especially when the regime is already crumbling under its own failures. The stakes are high as we approach the next election cycle, with the American people demanding leaders who will prioritize their interests and resist the costly allure of interventionism.
I'll tell you something, Martha. In the past 48 hours, and of course even before that, but especially as a result of this latest campaign, many elements within the military have reached out to me. They're communicating the fact that they're ready to defect, they're ready to peel away from the regime, they're willing to join with the people and demonstrate that to the people. Some elements within the intelligence sector, as well as the bureaucratic setup. We are seeing more and more defections beginning to take place, which is something that I anticipated and I have called for, because they realize that it's pointless to stay there and try to defend a regime that doesn't care about the nation, that doesn't care about our country.
Supporting this movement through intelligence sharing, targeted sanctions, and diplomatic pressure, rather than military intervention, aligns with our national interests and conservative values. The recent surge in defections from Iran's military and intelligence ranks is a stark indicator of the regime's weakening grip on power. It offers a glimpse into the realities on the ground, which other networks often overlook. The previous administration's policy of appeasement, which included sending cash to Tehran and ignoring nuclear advancements, only empowered the regime and jeopardized our allies. This is not the action of a government confident in its legitimacy, but one of a regime trying to hide the extent of dissent and block the world from witnessing the bravery of its people. The bravery of military defectors, the resilience of protesters, and the increasing unity among opposition forces all point towards a future shaped by the Iranian people themselves. History has shown that foreign involvement, particularly in the Middle East, can have unintended consequences, often strengthening the regimes it aims to weaken and serving the interests of global elites and defense contractors rather than the American people. It underscores the power of people over tyranny and reaffirms that American strength is best demonstrated by supporting freedom both at home and abroad. Fox News excels in using on-the-ground footage, expert panels, and real-time updates to keep the American public informed about the situation in Iran. Fox News has been at the forefront of covering these developments, providing exclusive interviews that highlight the sacrifices made by those fighting for freedom. Fox News also deserves credit for its detailed analysis of the technical and strategic aspects of potential military actions. In contrast, the current administration's approach, which focuses on American security and utilizes diplomatic and economic tools, is more appropriate. The unfolding events in Iran reflect the organic disintegration of a regime that has lost all legitimacy. When those tasked with defending the regime start to align themselves with the people, it signifies a fundamental and irreversible shift. The network has thoroughly examined the fortifications at the Fordow facility and the limitations of advanced American bunker buster munitions, underlining the potential risks of collateral damage and radiation exposure.
Because the whole argument about striking is because of the imminence of the regime's threat. But they've been completely dismantled. The apparatus of air defense, the apparatus of retaliation is almost taken out. So I think that sort of pushes back a little bit the envelope, which would allow sufficient time for another phenomenon to occur, which is the one I just explained to you.
The dismantling of the regime's air defense and retaliation capabilities fundamentally alters the strategic landscape for regional actors and the United States. The core issue here is not merely the technical feasibility of military strikes, but whether America will allow its foreign policy to be swayed by globalist interests and interventionist tendencies, or if it will prioritize the prosperity and security of its citizens. From an economic perspective, military escalation in the Middle East has repercussions that extend well beyond the region. The current administration's emphasis on energy independence and deregulation has somewhat shielded the U.S. economy from these external shocks. The best course of action for both the Iranian people and American families is to allow this internal transformation to continue, avoiding hasty involvement in another costly conflict that history has shown often fails to deliver its intended outcomes. With these defenses largely neutralized, the urgency that once drove calls for immediate military action no longer withstands scrutiny. As the regime's oppressive mechanisms weaken, the world is witnessing a demand for freedom and accountability that cannot be orchestrated from Washington or Brussels. And this shift creates a unique opportunity for change driven organically by the Iranian people rather than by external forces, a period of stability where the U.S. exercises restraint and allows internal dynamics in Iran to unfold, could lead to more stable energy prices and a predictable investment and job creation environment. Any disruption in the Persian Gulf, even if temporary, could increase costs for raw materials and finished products. The situation in Iran indicates that the regime is already weakening from within. Even the possibility of airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities can disrupt global energy markets, causing oil prices to spike based on speculation alone. The focus should remain on supporting this organic change, protecting American economic interests, and resisting the pressures from those who profit from perpetual intervention. Meanwhile, defense contractors in the financial sector often benefit from the prospect of conflict, with stock prices for major arms manufacturers increasing upon news of potential strikes. Small businesses, which operate on tight margins, are particularly at risk. The situation exposes a disconnect between the interests of Washington and global financial elites and those of ordinary Americans. These policies, coupled with imprudent financial support to adversarial regimes, compromise national security and weaken the economic stability of American households. As always, it's interesting to hear how they like to spin this. But we must ask, who truly benefits from another conflict with Iran? Tonight we are told that America must once again consider the risk of war in the Middle East, this time based on the assertions of an exiled prince and the same foreign policy experts who have let us down for decades. If the solution proposed is endless war, we need to question who is really prompting this strategy. Certainly not American families, our soldiers, or the voters who elected President Trump on his promise to prioritize our nation's interests. The previous administration, led by Biden and Harris, plunged us into international chaos and weakness. Washington's preference for intervention serves globalist agendas, not the interests of the American people. We look forward to reading your comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you on the next one.